So I'm going to share with you the PMax strategy that's actually generated millions for my clients, right? At first, I was a little hesitant about whether or not I should share this, but here goes, right? So when you're launching PMax, right, you first need to have some fundamentals in place that you want to really rely on. Number one is feed optimization, and that's something that's absolutely crucial. That's going to really help you stand out versus your competitors. So, what you want to do when it comes to Google Merchant Center or when it comes to your listings for Google Shopping is you want to absolutely optimize your titles, your descriptions, and your images. Your images are the most important sort of lever that can really help differentiate you when it comes to your competitors, right? So that's the first thing that you want to look at. The second thing, which is also crucial, is your assets, which means your images, your videos, all different types of creative that you can leverage, right? So the first thing is you want to really take care of these two aspects. But I would say the assets isn't necessary to begin. What is absolutely necessary is that you have a feed, and that feed needs to be optimized as much as possible, right? So the two main, asset groups that I rely on when it comes to starting out is a feed only and a full build. And I would say from across my experience, the feed only is usually the most profitable asset group because you really leverage Google's algorithm, right? You're relying on Google's algorithm to really showcase your products to the right kind of people with PMax, especially when it comes to feed only. You're not leveraging any assets, but it's just your product and the shopping feed, right? 'Cause shopping feed is where the revenue is at, which makes perfect sense. So, what do we want to do, right, when it comes to launching PMax? Well, I would say the number of asset groups that you should have when it comes to PMax really depends on your budget, right? The more budget you have, the more you can spend on multiple asset groups. That way, PMax is able to diversify your spend, right? However, I would not suggest having more than 4 or 5 asset groups at one PMax just because you don't want to overcomplicate things. In that case, I would suggest adding another PMax or segmenting things properly, right? But when it comes to starting out, say you don't have that much budget, what you want to do is you want to have a feed only asset group and then you have a full build asset group so that both of them are pushing each other to achieve the performance you want. But say you're able to have decent enough budget of upwards of $100 or more per day. That's when you want to start doing some split tests, right? So when it comes to feed only, I'd like to have two different asset groups that are feed only. One has no signals, and the benefit of this no signals, which means you're not feeding it any data when it comes to the audience that you want to go out after. And the great thing about that is that it enables Google to go out there and get you a lot of cold audience that you need later that you can use for remarketing, that you really access those untapped markets, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing is, and that's throughout my experience, that's the most profitable campaign, which makes sense. Is you want to have a feed only asset group with all your marketing signals. So you want to really focus on, all your past converters, your add to carts, that kind of thing. So you want to really lump all that super audience and give that as a signal to Google, and that's how you're able to be extremely profitable, right? The second type of asset group that we want to focus on is the full build, and that's where you have your best assets, right? So what you want to do for that is either you have your own assets of your product, or you can always go online, look at what competitors are using. There's so many different tools that you can use to make creative. Again, I would always advise at looking at what's working best in your industry and leveraging those as your assets, right? So what I like to do when it comes to full build asset groups is I like to do a split test between two different asset groups of assets, right? Because you never know which creatives tend to perform better. Although Google, if you look into the information given to when it comes to PMax, you can view details, and you can see some assets are low or good or best. So you can see which assets you should keep and which ones you should absolutely take out, right? From there, after doing this split test, you determine a winner, right? And so after that, that's when you do another split test and you test a winner, the winning asset group with the signals with the remarketing signals and without, right? So what you want to do at the end after doing these split tests is we're left with 4 asset groups. I like to keep it around maybe 3 to 4, where you have this remarketing signals one that's really powerful, that's generating a lot of the ROAS. You have the no signals feed only, and then you have the winner full build that you can leverage with either the no signals one or the remarketing signals, right? You can also leverage, in people that are in market for your products. I wouldn't test for affinity audiences because that's a little too broad and often not exactly what you're trying to leverage. It again, it's all a matter of split testing, right? But that's overall the overall PMax structure. Now, just final words on PMax. There's a lot of people that have a lot to say about PMax. Let me tell you, from what I've witnessed from my clients, it's generated absolute millions. I've scaled certain PMaxes to spending thousands per day, 4 or 5K a day on one PMax, right? So you can absolutely do that, right? So the crucial thing with PMax is you need to absolutely just go back to the fundamentals, have the right structure in place, optimize your feed. Another tip that's also really important, guys, is you want to focus on your best sellers, right? I notice a lot of clients don't really exclude the products that they need to exclude, so they end up spending so much money on products that aren't worth it, and then they don't really send as much spend to the products that have either proven themselves in terms of sales or have a very high CTR. So that's what you want to focus on. So that's the strategy in a nutshell. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you'd like to scale your brand with Google Ads, feel free to reach out to me and then we could schedule a call.